Welcome to the second day of the Truth Telling and Healing Inquiry. My name is Joshua Creamer. I'm the chairperson. I'll just introduce my fellow members again. To my far right, member Ivan Ingram. Next to him, between him and myself, member Cheryl Buchanan. On the far left, member Rosalind Atkinson, and closest to myself, member Vonda Malone. Importantly, I want to acknowledge the Yagara and Turrbal people. We've been really grateful to have their welcome to countries on firstly our ceremonial hearing, and then obviously yesterday, and going forward we'll continue to acknowledge them, but we won't have the welcomes nor will we have the prayer. That's, I guess, the formal or the administrative issues I need to deal with this morning. Ms. Cleese, is there a hand over to you?
Thank you, Chairperson. Before we continue with hearing the evidence of participants, I'd like to introduce myself and my colleague again for people who weren't here yesterday. My name is Carla Cleese and I'm a barrister, and I appear on behalf of the Director of In-House Legal of the Truth Telling and Healing Inquiry, and I'll be speaking today as counsel assisting the inquiry. My colleague, Ms. Malia Ben, is also a barrister who will be appearing with me and speaking today as counsel assisting the inquiry. And I confirm there are no other parties who have applied to the inquiry for leave to appear today.
Ms. Cleese, just before you go on, and just in terms of informing the public, so the role of the barristers and the counsel assisting during the course of this inquiry is to assist the participants with their evidence, and the counsel assisting team and the lawyers have worked with our participants for a period of time to prepare them coming along today, and we'll guide them through giving their evidence over the course of their hearings. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I'll now hand over to my colleague.
Thank you, Ms. Cleese. I acknowledge the Turrbal and Yagara people as the traditional custodians of this land, and I want to, as a Mamu and Gungandji woman, acknowledge them and their elders, past and present. I wish to address some matters before the hearing commences today for the benefit of those who are attending for the first time. The people who are appearing in the inquiry this week have been invited as they have already shared at least part of their story publicly. Although that is the case, I still wish to acknowledge that it takes a leap of faith and courage to come as part of the first group to share their story as a part of the first truth-telling process. There is also members of the Community Participation Support Team who are present today, and they are able to speak to people who are interested to learn about how they can participate in the inquiry. The first step to contributing is to register your interest, and then the inquiry team will work with you. As Mr. Chair has already mentioned, the people who are coming forward to share their evidence today have worked with the inquiry team for quite some time. For the inquiry to achieve its function in the most trauma-aware and healing-informed way, with free, prior and informed consent in line with data sovereignty principles, that takes time and precision. So please do come and see someone from our Community Participation Support Team so that they can sit down with you and start that process. I also wish to reiterate that these hearings that are being conducted this week are in the most formal way that the inquiry has to offer. There are other options available that are less formal. People can engage either independently or as a group in truth-telling sessions, which only requires a minimum of one member and one member of the staff inquiry team. Please take comfort in knowing that it can be in a way less formal proceeding in terms of being in a hall, around your dining table, or even outside. The way that we take the evidence as the barristers and the participants is to be conversational. The members might not say too much, and that is because they are deeply listening and they've already read all of the evidence that you will hear today. Also, we acknowledge that the barristers and also the participants have their back to some of you in the crowd today. We have reserved some seats to my left for elders who would like to see the participants' face while they are giving their evidence today. Yesterday, the inquiry heard evidence from Arnie Leslie Williams and Professor Tracy Bunda. Collectively, they spoke about matters subject to the inquiry, which included dispossession of Aboriginal people from their country, life on missions and reserves, and the control of Aboriginal people's personal property, places and residence, their wages, finances and employment. Today, the inquiry will hear from two more lived experience participants, and that includes Mr. David Ragg, who's already at the table this morning, and also Ruth Hegarty. David Ragg will give evidence about his life in Cherbourg, particularly his time with the boys' dormitory. He will also talk about the Healing Foundation and his own healing journey. Auntie Ruth Hegarty will give evidence via a pre-recorded video, and she will mostly talk about her childhood in the babies and girls' dormitory in Cherbourg, as well as other parts of her adult life in Brisbane. The evidence that the inquiry will hear today will further highlight people's lived experience under the successive protectionist laws and policies and the continued effect that this has on Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people's lives. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Mann. I'll just formally note, as I did yesterday, that because of the uniqueness of this inquiry, there'll be participants who are known to the members, and that is, of course, again, today, the fact. Thank you, Ms. Cleese.
Thank you, Chairperson. Before we begin, and it was acknowledged earlier and I need to do it again, we note that the evidence that will be heard in today's first session will contain themes related to removal from country, removal from family, life on a settlement, mission or reserve, neglect, control, cruelty, physical abuse and sexual abuse. If anyone experiences distress during these sessions, the inquiry encourages you to take necessary steps for your wellbeing. If you would like to access support here, the counsellors have been pointed out to you and there will be the yarning circle in the break.